Alright. Don't worry, I'm not gonna keep the air on this whole time, but it is. Anyway, I gotta finish my ELO first, sorry, before I start this review. It is seriously fucked outside. It is in the negatives. So let me turn the air off. I'll pick up with you later, living thing. Okay. Fuck, I was just trying to warm the car up a little bit before I start this. Oh, God, I look stupid. So, it's fucking cold. And I'm here by myself doing this one. There is, beyond this horrible thing-esque winter we have going on, there is like a serious bug, like sickness bug going around town. Like, everyone has got it. The plan was that like me and Jake were going to Lego, which we did, and Lego was like at 10, and then Sarah and like Dave or Brian would go see The Monuments Men. Dave had to work, Brian not feeling well, Sarah really not feeling well. So since I couldn't find anyone else to go with Sarah, I was going to go to Monuments Men at 7 o'clock. So I go see Monuments Men at 7 o'clock, and then we shoot the video, and then at 10 o'clock I go see the Lego Movie with Jake. I got a text, bug hit her fast, like, just not feeling well at all. Like, it's crazy, this, like, really bad, it's basically outbreak going on in Springfield, and apparently I'm fine. So I couldn't even really I'm in Jillian's car right now, but that's just because I'm in her driveway, filming this in her driveway. I had to take a cab to the movie theater to go see Monuments Men, and then Jake met up with me at 10 o'clock. So, Monuments Men, would I rather be really, really violently ill or watch Monuments Men again? I was really looking forward to this. This movie looked pretty good. I liked the trailers. I thought the trailers were fun. I thought it looked like kind of a cool, kind of Kelly's Heroes kind of war movie, kind of, sort of. Ocean's 1944, basically. It's Ocean's 1944. And this movie was supposed to come out in December, which at first made sense to me, because I was like, okay, awards season, they might be wanting to push for, like, maybe supporting actor nods, or maybe direction, or maybe script. I like Clooney a lot as a director. I like him as a writer, too. As an actor, yeah, I just genuinely like George Clooney. And then the movie got pushed back to February, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a bummer. Then it's not going to get any kind of, like, awards that it probably wants to get, or something like that. Like, even if it is really good, everything nominated for an Oscar comes out within the last few months of the year. And so it's like, well, I guess, I don't know, maybe they had to do some, like, last-minute editing. Maybe not everything was done yet, and they just had to push it back a couple months. Here's probably why it got pushed back. Monuments Men is not very good. It is depressingly bad. I'm not even mad at it, really. Just sad and very disappointed, because, man, it could have been really good. It so isn't. And I'm really going to try to pinpoint what I didn't like about this movie. Because this is after not only I'm doing this right now, not only after seeing the Lego Movie, which is great, but I'm also doing this after doing the review of the Lego Movie. And so, I am having a hard time remembering this movie. That'll happen when you see a bad movie, followed by a fucking brilliant one. Okay, it's not really Ocean's 11, but a war movie. It's Ocean's 12, but a war movie. 12. Because honestly, I kind of liked Ocean's 13. 11 and 13. The odd-numbered Oceans movies are really good. um, this movie, it's a concept, that's it. It's, let's get a bunch of actors together, go recover some art from the Nazis, we'll probably have a good time making the movie. That's it. This movie it feels like, immediately, right away, it feels like the sequel to a movie that doesn't exist. Because no one in this movie is, aside from a couple, not most people in this movie aren't really playing a character. They're playing themselves, really. Like, no different than, like, a standard performance you'd see them give in a movie where they're there to be Bill Murray, or they're there to be George Clooney, or they're there to be Bob Balaban, John Goodman. That's it. The movie sets up like, hey, I'm Professor George Clooney. We need to go save this art so the Nazis don't destroy it. Okay, Professor, you put your ragtag team together and you go off to Europe and you rescue the art. Okay. So the opening credits, which happen like 10 minutes into the movie, and that is such a fucking pet peeve of mine. I hate that when, like, you think you're pretty far, and not far, but far enough to where it'd be too late for an ending credit sequence, or an opening credit sequence, and then I'd rather there be no opening credit sequence than that. And I don't really like it when movies don't have opening credit sequence either, but I'd take that over when it happens like fucking 20 minutes into the movie. My God, does that take me out of a fucking movie. It's so fucking distracting. And in this, it was bad because there's no setup to any of these characters. It is just that guy, Bill Murray. Yeah, let's get him. There he is, like, on the side of a building. He must be an architect. There's John Goodman. He's doing some crazy funny shtick with his helmet. He's the Curly Joe Dorita of the group. There's Bob Balaban. He will be he'll be the nerdy one. He'll be the wormy guy. Here's Matt Damon to be handsome. That's it. There are no setup to these guys. I don't know how they know each other. There's absolutely no talking them into doing this. It's just, yeah, I'll do it. That's it. These characters, we don't see what their lives are like at all. Like, no, I don't know. It's just, again, it feels like there was a previous movie that maybe set up all of these characters, and now we're seeing them again in this sequel that's not actually a sequel to anything. So like, oh, they brought him back and him back. And okay, here's exactly what it is. The opening from Ocean's 12, when it's just Andy Garcia going up to each one of the members of the Ocean's group, and it's kind of showing what they're doing. Imagine if that movie wasn't a sequel and it opened like that. It'd be weird, and this one is. It's wildly uneven, because when we get any kind of glimmer of any character, it's always nothing substantial. It's just like, yeah, I got a couple kids at home. Oh, I got a grandkid at home. Nah. That's it. It's wildly uneven in tone, too, because something kind of serious would happen, and then immediately followed up by slapstick, or a scene would just end with a punchline, and then zany music would be playing. Admittedly, the soundtrack to the movie is kind of catchy. I was honestly humming it while I was waiting for the other movie to start, but it feels like they borrowed like the soundtrack to a Police Academy movie, or like a Zucker Abrams spoof, and they put it in this movie. Well, I know that a lot of like some older war movies would have kind of a soundtrack like that. And you know what? I'll bet you that's probably what it was going for. But I seem to remember tone being relatively consistent in something like Kelly's Heroes. And then when it got serious, it was fairly serious. And not followed up by a joke or like crazy slapstick shenanigans. There's a part where all of them are... I'm not looking forward to going back out there again. There's a part where all of them will be sitting around, and then Bill Murray will crack his tooth by eating homemade jerky, and then there's a goofy, slapsticky scene at a dentist's office of him getting his tooth knocked out. It's just bizarre. And there's no villain in this movie. Things just kind of happen. It seems like there's remnants of a pretty good movie here, but it sort of feels like you keep sitting on the remote and it's just skipping around and you don't really notice because 1 minute Matt Damon is with George Clooney and all the rest of the guys, and then another minute he's who I thought was John Turturro. At one point, it shows him with a guy who looks like John Turturro, but is only... I don't even remember having any lines. Maybe it wasn't him. I don't know. But... And then it would cut to him with this guy, and then back to Clooney's guys again, and then back in like a biplane with, I think, Turturro? I don't know. But it was... And then it just... This movie is honestly really boring. And because of that, I don't know this, but I wonder if there were any reshoots that went on in this, because when something does happen, it's crazy out of place with no setup, really not that much context, and not that much payoff. Randomly, in the movie, suddenly Matt Damon is standing on a landmine. That's how the scene starts. There's no setup to it. It's just suddenly they're in these mines, and the scene starts with him saying, I think I've stood on a landmine. There's no setup to it. And then it's this 4 or 5 minute deviation from the plot about how they're wondering if the mine is a dud, and then they're building like bricks around it, and it's out of and it is a dud, and they're like, I thought that was a dud, and that's it. There's like, will randomly be like a shootout with Jean Dujardin, who's charming as fuck in the movie. I like him a lot. Honestly, really, the acting is fine. I mean, the only one playing an actual character, honestly, is Cate Blanchett, who, even her scenes are weird because there's almost this romantic thing with her and Matt Damon that goes nowhere. It goes nowhere when it logically should go somewhere, because their scenes together are kind of cute. I mean, sometimes it feels less like he's asking her to help them rescue Art, and more like he's asking her to sell the rights to Mary Poppins. But so there's this kind of romance with those two, but at the end of their like kind of date sequence, he like just leaves and says like a one-liner about his tie. It just goes nowhere and it ends. And again, suddenly it'll be Clooney and his people wandering around a warehouse for 2 hours. And then it'll be Jean Dujardin and John Goodman in the middle of a firefight. And then it'll be shtick with Bill Murray and Bob Balaban. There's a part where there's kind of a Mexican standoff with those two and a young German soldier, and there's zany music playing during it. And it's only played for laughs, but it starts out being intense. And it just ends with them having a cigarette and the soldier going, John Wayne. Yep, John Wayne. And then they leave and that's it. What the fuck? This was just bizarre. This movie had, I'm sure this movie had the best of intentions. It's obviously ambitious. I don't know what the fuck went wrong here with this movie. I really fucking don't. Something happened. Something got lost in the translation from script to movie on this. Because if you were to sit down and read this, it might read just fine. There are a couple of good moments in it. Clooney has a scene with a soldier, with an SS guy at the end of it, where he kind of has this little monologue about how he's smoking a cigarette for the first time, and that when he reads about when this SS guy is eventually going to be hung for war crimes, that he will read that in a newspaper and then go on with his day and never think about him again. That was a good scene. It's at the end of the movie, but it was a good scene, and it was well acted. Clooney did a really good job in that scene. That's it. There's a part where Bill Murray is listening to a record of his daughter singing a Christmas song to him, and you can hear his granddaughter in there too. That scene's okay. I mean, Bill Murray does fine in it, but would have been really nice if I actually knew anything about any of these fucking people for me to really give a shit about that. I don't know if there's like a good chunk of this fucking movie missing or what, because it just throws you into this with these characters that you're only supposed to know because you recognize the actors. That's it. This would be like, if these were no-name actors in this movie, this would be such... It is. I mean, it is a very two-dimensional film. But I can't imagine how lesser it would be if it didn't at least have the charisma of some of these actors in it, because it does. I mean, Clooney's charismatic as fuck. I mean, Bill Murray has a couple of funny lines. John Goodman's fine. Jean Dujardin is charming as shit. But this movie did not work for me at all, and I'm not even mad. It's just depressing. Like, I don't know, maybe the presence of like a villain would help, because it really doesn't have a villain. Earlier in the movie, you think one guy is going to be the villain, like he's just opening fire at Cate Blanchett at one point as he's taken off from a train, and then he just disappears from the movie and doesn't come back into it later on, only because he's the son of the dentist from the dentist sequence shtick. And then the guy just gets arrested and they take him off, blah, out of movie. Like, that's it. And that could have been a kind of an intense scene, because like they're putting it together that this guy who they think is just some regular kind of German farmer actually is an SS officer. And that could have been fairly intense, but it's played for laughs. Like, they figure it out when they see the artwork hanging on his wall, and one of them jokingly says Heil Hitler, and then both of his kids just stand up like Hitler Youth, going, Heil Hitler! And then they figure out he's a Nazi because of that, and then the silly music starts playing, and what the fuck? At the beginning of the movie, it shows a guy playing Hitler. He's just standing there, he doesn't say anything. I mean, a villain really could have worked in this, maybe, if there was... It at least would have brought some consistency. It at least would have brought some arc to it, because I seriously did not know where the fuck this movie was going. Not in that it's unpredictable, in that it goes nowhere. They end up finding the art because they figure the map out, and the map's actually talking about salt mines. So then the rest of it is them just checking mines. Like, okay, you could do something... You can make any story interesting. This story is a fascinating story. It could have been done well. It just wasn't. At all. At the end, there's that SS guy I brought up earlier, who Clooney has the cigarette monologue with at the end. That guy turns up maybe in the last half hour of the movie. That's it. I couldn't tell when this movie was approaching the end, because all it is really just them kind of wandering around looking at shit, and suddenly an out-of-place slapstick scene would happen, and then an out-of-place shtick with a landmine, and it wasn't integrated well at all. Like, if you want to be funny like that, that's fine. Kelly's Heroes has many funny parts in it. A lot of those war movies have funny parts in it. Okay, fine. Or, but something like Kelly's Heroes at least has three-dimensional characters, dude, quite a bit. Donald Sutherland rocks in that movie. And hell, like, even if you want to throw in some action sequence, okay, fine, but they are just so out of nowhere, it's not even funny. I don't know, like, you know, the audience I saw it with, it seemed like they liked it, so I don't know, maybe it'll go over fine with audiences. I don't know, but this did not work on me at fucking all, and wow, is the Lego Movie a much better film than this. In every way, shape, or form is the Lego Movie better than this. I've got to wrap this up because I can't really feel my toes right now, so I don't recommend this at all. Maybe give it maybe try sitting through it if, like, you find a cheap copy of it at the video store. Okay, sure, you're not gonna hate yourself afterwards, but man, this could have been so much better. This could have been really good. This really could have been. It could have been a movie, like, given its plot, given its cast, given its director, given its writer. It could have been a movie that could have gotten some Oscar attention, but it's a throwaway February movie. That's it. That's why they fucking moved it to February, because it really sucked. And that's unfortunate, because I know that I know they wanted to make something good, and it's just awkward at the end when it's so, oh god, and it does the thing at the end where it flashes to the future, or like 1979, and it's old George Clooney, but it's Nick Clooney, George Clooney's dad, playing him. I mean, that's cute, I guess, but goddamn, that takes you out of what is supposed to be a serious scene. I'm not going to talk about trailers because it's too goddamn cold, but I took these pictures. I took these pictures in the lobby because I was starting to notice something that made me laugh. Here's what's coming soon. Hey guys, my phone screen wasn't popping up in the car because it was so fucking cold, so here's what I couldn't show you in the car because this really made me laugh. Coming soon, pondering badass in front of something dangerous. And then, couple making out in front of hotness. There's evil Kevin Costner and good Kevin Costner. Plus, the fucking Lord. Do you want Old Testament or New Testament? Because we got you covered either way. It's so goddamn cold here that was, I could tell that was not showing up on the monitor. So, okay, go see the Lego Movie. If you want to be depressed, go see Monuments Men, because god damn it really could have been good. So okay, that's my thoughts on that. Next week is like RoboCop and like Endless Love and About Last Night and some fucking movies. So I'll see you guys next week.